Jesus said, I am the resurrection and I am life. And those who believe in me, even though they die, yet shall they live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore. And I hold the keys of death. And because I live, you shall live also. Friends, we have gathered here to praise God and to witness to our faith as we celebrate the life of Michael Lee Carver. We come together to celebrate, but also to acknowledge our human loss. And may God grant us grace that in pain we may find comfort, in sorrow, hope, and in death, resurrection. Dying, Christ destroyed our death. Rising, Christ restored our life. Christ will come again in glory. As in baptism Michael put on Christ, so in Christ may Michael be clothed with glory. Here and now, dear friends, we are God's children. What we shall be has not yet been revealed, but we shall know that when he appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. And those who have this hope purify themselves as Christ is pure. We're going to be singing out of the White Celebration Hymnal. You'll find that, the White Celebration Hymnal, page 327. 327 in the White Hymnal. Let us stand and sing the Old Rugged Cross.
Where Good morning. I feel like really I should introduce myself. My wife and I, Gay, raise your hand. My name's Alan Wiley, my wife Gay, and we were members here of the Rayburn Methodist Church for probably about 10 years. And it really feels like home. Hearing Danny play the piano back here so beautifully, We miss Nancy Nicholson, leading us. But it really feels like home. Suzanne, thank you very much, for inviting me to share some words about Michael. Michael and Suzanne came to our home. We toured the Space Center together. We'd stayed overnight in their home. I love that. I started to call it a bay window, but I think it's a sunroom. I love that sunroom. Now, I know we're in church, but Suzanne makes a nice margarita that she always would serve to us. Oh, yeah. That was a good draw for me to be there, Suzanne. But we so enjoyed being, there's so many friends here in this church, and especially with Michael and Suzanne. What I appreciated about Michael, when Suzanne called me to ask me to come, I said, well, I'm coming. She said, my grandchildren were in the car, Mia and Henry. They're, I think, like 9 and 11 years old still. And so I talked to Mia and Henry about being humble, always thinking of the other person. Andrew, you said you're going to help, right? But Michael was always humble. And you're going to hear many examples. Later on, I'm going to read Suzanne's tribute, to Michael. And you'll hear many examples of how humble Michael was. And so I told my grandchildren about Michael, truly an humble man. Sorry. I always appreciate being his friend. Now, so this is going to get a little bit lighter now. I'm going to tell you all some stories about Michael, the lake, the golf course, and here at the church. Now, the lake and the golf course, I'm sure I can get through rather easily. The church may be a little bit more difficult. But as far as the lake, one day I called Richard Hasselhoff, and Richard and Pam extend their regards. Richard's eyesight is just where he couldn't come. But Richard extended his condolences by not being here, Suzanne. I know you know that. But I called Richard and Michael about playing golf. The two of us, along with Mike Frank, we enjoyed playing golf together. And Richard said, "Hey, we're going out in the boat on the lake, and we're going to plant some sweet gum trees, and that's where we're going to catch all the fish in the future." So I said, "Well, that sounds great." So we got in Richard's truck, and I don't know if there's any forestry people here, but we did go out there and found some isolated back in the woods where they wouldn't be missed, some sweet gum trees, and we sawed those down, and then somehow Richard weighted those, because you can't just drop a sweet gum tree in the water and have it do you any good. And so Richard weighted those down, and we got in the boat and went out there, and we found his spot, to put those things in, and Richard's holding the boat in place, and Michael and I are trying to swing these things into the water, and we almost swung ourselves into the water. We were not very well coordinated, but those trees did get planted. And talking to Richard, he said that Gay and I were weekenders. We weren't here during the week when these guys were fishing. But Richard assured me that he and Michael did benefit from our labor there that day. So on the golf course, Michael and I played many rounds of golf together with each other. And it's always a pleasure. Michael, sometimes I have trouble keeping myself under control, but Michael never did. He's always in control. And one day we're playing, it's just the two of us. Now, have any of you guys played the Rayburn golf course out there? Anybody? Well, the most difficult hole is number 7. By far, it's the most difficult hole. It's a par 4 hole, and if I made a 5 on it, I was happy. Well, Michael hit a nice drive, and it wasn't quite, it was off the fairway a little bit. In fact, it was across the cart path into a sandy area, so it wasn't like he was in the fairway. But he hit his second shot, and we were looking into a glare, and so I could tell that Michael hit the ball well, and I could tell that it went in the general right direction. And so we started driving our golf cart. We weren't walking. We were riding in the golf cart, and we drove up there, and we could not see the golf ball. And so we got out of the cart, and I said to myself, okay, Michael, well, I told Michael, I says, I'm going to stay here at the front of the green. Now I want you to walk up there to the hole and look down there and see if that golf ball is there. And Michael walked up there, and he looked down, and he grinned, and he looked at me, and he said, it's in the hole. That's all Michael did. Well, you know, if you hit an eagle on the most difficult par 4 hole in the course, somebody ought to be shouting and screaming. And so I shouted and screamed and made up for Michael just being his typical humble self. Now, in talking to Richard Hasselhoff, he said also that Michael had a hole-in-one on number 14. So, and I did not know about that, so I'm glad that I called and talked to him about that. Okay, so now we're getting to the church, and that's going to be a little bit harder maybe, but maybe not. So Michael and I sang together here in the choir, and you know, I also sing in the choir at our church back in Houston. I'm not the most gifted singer, but I love to sing in the choir. I absolutely love to stand to sing here in this choir. And you know, people like Danny and Nancy are very demanding. You know, they want you to say the right words, you know, as you're singing. They want you to hit the right note, but they want you to look at them, you know. So you cut off at the right times, you know, you start at the right times, you know. Well, that was difficult for me. But Michael, it was a breeze for him. Now, Michael, he could sing any part. You know, I think he could sing the soprano part if you asked him to, but he sang tenor, and as you will see in Suzanne's tribute, people often wanted to stand next to Michael in the choir because he could lead you to the right note. And so Michael's singing tenor, well, I'm singing tenor. That's too high for me, but I'm singing tenor. And we rehearsed a lot. I'd get in my golf cart and ride past Larry and Jean's condo to a path I'm not sure anybody ever takes but me. And I could go down that path, and I could get to Michael and Suzanne's house, and we would rehearse a lot of the hymns that we were going to sing. Like, I can remember one of them, Jesus Paid It All. Well, you didn't help me out there. You might help Michael. But so we rehearsed a lot, you know, and enjoyed singing those specials here. You know, our choir sometimes would go into Jasper for where all the choirs would sing, you know, and again, I would be by Michael. And then, of course, Michael sang solos. You know, Danny never asked me to sing a solo. Good job, Danny. But Michael sang solos, you know, and one in particular I remembered was He Touched Me, Oh Lord, He Touched Me. I don't know if y'all remember that hymn. It was written by the Gaithers. A little research about this. It was written by Bill Gaither in 1963. And other people sang that song, including Elvis Presley. I'm a big Elvis Presley fan. You know, Elvis always said, he says, I made my living singing rock and roll, but he says, my heart was with the gospel. Kind of stuff. And when Elvis sang that song, it was oh so beautiful. When Michael sang that song, it was oh so beautiful. So Elvis had great company with Michael. But Michael, you know, he hit the right notes. You know, he watched Danny and Nancy, you know, and he sang with such compassion. Oftentimes I sing something and I don't remember the words I sang because I was just trying to stay up, you know. But Michael, he sang with such conviction. And you could tell that when he came back, when he was singing here and singing his special, he'd come back there into the choir and stand beside me there, and I could see tears in his eyes. He sang with so much compassion. So that the chorus, I just wrote down the words for the chorus. He touched me, oh Lord, He touched me. And oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened to me, I know. He touched me and made me whole. Now, Michael, with my plan, he was supposed to outlive me. He was supposed to sing at my funeral, but God had another plan. But we'll all rejoice when we join Michael in heaven. All right, I got through that better than I thought I would. Thank you. Andrew, thank you for your help there, buddy. Now, Suzanne also asked me to read her glowing tribute to Michael, and it is special. So thank you, Suzanne, again, for letting me do this. Michael Lee Carver. On June 25th, the Heavenly Choir acquired a new song angel by the name of Michael Lee Carver. During his life on earth, Mike was defined by 4 words that begin with the letter G: God, gratitude, goodness, and gadgets. And so Suzanne put God first. And so we're going to talk about God. Michael lived a life of service to God and sang God's praises every chance he got. As a boy, and I did not know this, he sang with bands and traveled to different churches. And when he and Suzanne started attending Rayburn Methodist Church, Nancy Nicholson invited Michael to be in the choir. If you've ever heard Michael sing, you know he sang from the heart, because it showed on his face the big smile as well as tears of gratitude that often spilled down his face. Michael looked for ways to serve others with his beautiful voice, often volunteering to sing at funerals and special events. For 20 years, he was a steady presence in the choir. Alan Wiley and others, here it is, even liked to be near Michael during choir rehearsals and performances because it helped them to stay on key. And that did work. So as we gather today, I bet Michael and Nancy are working on a duet in heaven. The second G, gratitude. Michael had a beautiful habit of gratitude, which made him a joy to share life with. He expressed gratitude for things, grand and small things alike. From the majesty, beauty of East Texas to the 8 gallons of ice cream in his freezer, Michael was most grateful for the family he and Suzanne shared. 3 children and 7 grandchildren. He loved each of them and loved spending time with them and was grateful for the love they showed him in return. Another example of Michael's gratitude habit is his story of military service in Vietnam. And I think I probably knew he served in Vietnam, but I had forgotten. He told the story of vacation in Vietnam because he ate so well and gained more food. He said he got out of the Army weighing more than when he went in. His role was surveillance of the enemy as shown through films taken by planes. Yet he often humbly, here's that word again, he often humbly said, I had it easy compared to those in the field. After his military service, wherever he went, he stopped to thank active military and veterans for their service to our country and sometimes even donated money. Michael loved life to the fullest and was grateful for each day. When he was well, he got up early, and his first order of business was saying, okay, Suzanne, what do we have on tap for today? And sometimes that was getting on their BMW motorcycle and riding around. Or sometimes I was playing golf. And after playing golf, Michael loved to gather with friends for a meal and drinks, and sometimes, if the Dunlaps were involved, prizes. During his last few months, Michael expressed his gratitude each and every day to Suzanne for caring for him and making it possible for him to be at home. Way to go, Suzanne. He thanked friends and neighbors for their visits, and he thanked medical professionals for their expertise. And instead of complaining to God about his struggles, he thanked God for his blessings, always. Role model. Goodness. Michael Carver, as we all know, was a good man. Most of you know that Michael worked for the Corps of Engineers for 43 years. When Hurricane Rita arrived in our area, Michael and his men and their families camped out in the powerhouse. The wind was howling, and Michael was not worried for himself, but instead he was worried for the people at the main office. Mike Baker and he made their way to the main office to check on their safety. When the storm passed, Michael got busy sending messages to higher-ups in the military and received permission from a brigadier general to do what they called black start, which was a potentially dangerous process to restart power in Jasper for all of Jasper County. Michael and his men worked closely with Jasper Newton Electric, all the while using extreme caution to avoid fire. Afterwards, Michael and his men received medals for the stellar job they did. And here again, Michael felt a deep passion of pride for his team and gave them the credit. And lastly, gadgets. Oh, how Michael loved his gadgets, and Suzanne is shaking her head. At the heart of that love was a never-ending curiosity, a fascination with technology, and a love of learning. If you live over by the golf course and wondered about the drone overhead, that probably was Michael. If you saw an e-bike fly down the street, it may have been Michael. And if you ever needed a part or an odd piece of something, chances are it was in Michael's garage, because, and in capital letters, he did not believe in throwing anything away. After all, he might be able to use that cord or that switch one day. For Michael, the ultimate gadget may have been the space shuttle. He was part of the recovery team when the space shuttle went down not far from here. He often told the story of being out on the boat fishing and hearing the loud noise caused by the shuttle, re-entering the atmosphere in pieces, and how he immediately got to shore so he could join the search. Michael mourned the loss of the crew along with the rest of the world, and when guests came to visit, he made the Columbia Memorial Museum in Hemphill a mandatory stop in his quest to teach others about the importance of space exploration. When Michael retired in January 2010, the first thing on his to-do list was to attend a space shuttle launch at the Kennedy Space Center in Houston. And again, Suzanne and he came to Houston to see all the Space Center Houston there. Suzanne and he stayed up all night to see the launch and experience the most beautiful colors in the sky. This brings me, Suzanne, to another of Michael's gadgets, his telescope. He dearly loved to go outside on a dark night and set up his telescope to glimpse the planets. Just one more example of Mike's curiosity and the gadgets that allowed him to follow his curiosity. And Suzanne says in closing, I could go on much longer with fond memories of Michael and the ways he brought love to this world, but now I'll close with a message to Michael from me. Farewell for now, my love. Keep the light on for me, and you and your brother Rick need to behave yourselves if possible. And Suzanne, I really loved your tribute to Michael. In particular, I love the idea that your vision of Michael and Nancy singing a duet in heaven, which sort of reminded me of the hymn, a chorus, when we all get to heaven. What a day of rejoicing that will be when we all see Jesus. We'll sing and shout the victory. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Alan. We're going to sing I Believe in a Hill Called Mount Calvary. It's found on page 318 in your white celebration hymnal. Page 318. Let's stand and sing.
feel very uncomfortable in that what I heard said today about my brother Michael, it reminds me of a story. Seemed like a fellow went to a funeral one day, and as the preacher was preaching the eulogy, the gentleman got up and walked up to the casket and motioned to the mortician, open the casket. He looked down in it and closed it. Did this about 3 or 4 times. And all of a sudden, the last time, the pastor finally got enough courage to say to him, "Sir, I know you're in mourning, but what is the matter here?" He said, "There's nothing the matter. I came to my friend's funeral, and what I heard today, I wanted to look in the casket to be sure it was him." Oh, I don't think Michael would like for us to be very sad today. Larry Dunlap, somebody wake him up, please. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to invite you for a moment to pray with me, and then at the end of it, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer. Now, let me say something to my brothers and sisters of another denomination. We use the word trespasses, and we will go on where the Roman Catholic Church stopped. We had Methodists always have to add something, we just got to do that. So I invite you to prayer now. Oh God, our Father who sees the world not through tears but through joy. And in every occasion when we feel sad, we know that you have not forgotten us. In the occasions when we rejoice, we know that you are there laughing with us and having a great time. Oh, how we thank you for Michael Carver, for his life, for his witness, and for his love for you. Now, Father, let the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, and the ears that would hear glorify your name. This I pray through Christ Jesus, who taught us to say, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen." I think one of the passages that best suits and best I remember Michael comes when Jesus was saying to his disciples as he was going away, and the disciples were, like all of us at this time, a little bit uneasy because we know that he filled a certain place in their life, and like Michael filled a certain place in our life. And Jesus said these words, "Let not your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions, and I will go and prepare one for you. And if I go and prepare one for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself." In the old tradition of the Jewish faith, a man would build a house. And in that area that he built the house, he built other rooms and other houses for his children. Now, y'all don't take this personal, okay, because y'all are not going to come live with Suzanne. That's all there is to it. Yeah, I know. But as each boy would marry, he would bring his family to that place. And the room would be prepared like that older boy or that boy wanted the room to be prepared. And my very simple mind got to thinking about Michael. What would his room look like? What would he want in that room? The first thing he would want in that room is a cross. Because you see, Michael's life was dictated by how he knew the Lord. And in him knowing the Lord, he was willing to do things that sometimes we feel very uncomfortable doing. That nice word of grief, that nice smile that we need. When my wife died, the people who came to me, Suzanne, you don't know this story. This is my story. Michael came. Michael didn't say anything to me. We stood at the garage, and Michael simply took my body and put it next to him. And he said, I don't know what to say, except I love you. That's all he had to say. You see, Michael knew the Lord. And he knew that where my daughter and my wife were that day was a lot better than what we have now. My Father's house are many mansions. The first thing in Michael's room is going to be a cross. He knew the resurrected Lord. He lived the resurrected life. The second thing about that passage is this. Jesus made a very interesting statement. You know, Jesus was not straight-laced. That's why I liked him. He often did things that the public didn't understand. That's why I liked him. He saved me. That's why I liked him. Michael knew the Lord in such a way that one of the things that colors his room is all of our pictures and all of our names that he helped. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Michael believed in God because he lived the faith. He lived the faith. The other thing, Dan, that I find really theologically worrying and troublesome, that where I am, there you will be also. I will come and receive you. And it's an interesting word, receive. There's a Greek word there, and y'all who know me preaching, I do a little Greek every once in a while. I took English as a foreign language, by the way. That word doesn't mean just to say hi. It doesn't mean to receive means to get something. That word means he will come and swoop us up. Bring us in his arms and take us home. You see, God's not going to send, God did not send the death angel to Michael's house. He himself came. In Michael's room will be the invitation signed by the Lord. Come home. Come home. But don't sit and mourn. We had him for 77 years. Sometimes that felt like we had him for 77 years at that one moment. If you ever ask Michael Carver a question, you know where I'm going with this. Sit down. Get comfortable. Because Michael is going to explain to you what you want to know, and then he's going to explain what you did not ask for, but he knows. In my Father's house are many mansions. We all have rooms. I'm glad to say today that I knew Michael Carver and that I know where he is. I'll be there someday too. My heart cannot be troubled. Oh, I will miss him. I'll miss his presence. I'll miss that goofy laugh. I will miss also that he got me addicted to Diet Pepsis. At 10:30 in the morning, the Diet Pepsi had to be there. First time I ever had that, Michael's humor, as I remember, was English. You know, you never know if the English people are telling you a joke or just kind of blabbering. But when you start listening to the joke, it's a funny joke. Michael said to me that very first time Diet Pepsi for you. Michael, I don't like Diet Pepsis. Oh no, Suzanne sent this for you. Now, how are you going to turn down Suzanne Carver's Diet Pepsi? And then as I began to drink it, Michael began to laugh. I tricked you, didn't I? And he gave that goofy laugh he had. His room is going to be prepared with happiness. Happiness. He knew the Lord. He had friends. And Michael loved life. Don't be sorry today. Just rejoice. We got to know him for 77 years. How he has blessed each of us and how he blessed this church. Do y'all know, and you probably don't, but I'm going to tell you this today, the PA system, how many hours that man spent without cussing putting that thing together. Michael, how are you doing? I'm fine. You got it done? Almost. And then it would be done, and we'd use it, and Michael was not happy because he didn't tweak it to the very degree. It wasn't perfect. How many hours Michael spent working with the choir? How many hours Michael spent working with us who are electronically illiterate? How many hours he spent at my house working on my computer, which I hate, will hate, and in my dying day I will hate. But he showed me how to do things. It'd go down, Claude would say, call Michael. And in a little bit, here would come that golf cart, up the tee box, up the side of my hill, running right over the fairway. There was Michael. He loved life. We are blessed because of Michael. We will miss him because of his personality, but we will be filled with joy